Hi again. My name is Larene Le Gassick. I am an engineer at Work 180, which I joined in March this year. And just a little bit about Work 180, it's a jobs board for women, but the reason why it's called 180 is because it's flipping the idea on the head, and we pre-screen employers and actually upload their CV about all the policies that they have. I got my first real tech job at ThoughtWorks, which I joined a bit over 3 years ago. And I'm passionate about accessibility, people, and diversity. And I really, really love the Brisbane tech community here. And I also love pizza. And so that's why I'm an organiser for Women Who Code for the last couple of years, as well as previously for CTO School, which I've mentioned as well with Chris.
So hi, my name's Damian Maclennan. I'm coming up to nearly the 2 decades in tech mark. I started teaching myself web development just in time for the dot-com boom and crash, and survived that. So I've had a bunch of roles in that time, software dev, architect, a few stints as a CTO, a lot of consulting, some training. And I'm starting to feel more and more like that old guy that's kind of seen it all. Although then Dave got up and made me feel better about myself. He's left now, so I want to be Dave when I grow up. Sorry, yeah, not too much. My kids keep reminding me. So I joined Work 180 at the beginning of the year as a CTO and first technical hire. And also about the first man too, which was hilarious. And in that I needed to build a product, and I needed to build a team, and needed to build an engineering culture. So I got a bit of a fresh start.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about our professional journey since then. So previously, as I said, I was a consultant at ThoughtWorks, and I spent a lot of time on consulting and on the core skills or the consulting skills, maybe a little bit too much time. And I realised that I really only understood software design principles at a very, very surface level. And often I ended up being kind of shoehorned into being the front-end developer or facilitating meetings with Post-its or, writing proposals, cleaning up Jira, things like that. Yeah, I know. Then I ran away to join a startup. So Damien asked me out for a coffee, and I tried to grab him for ThoughtWorks, ended up backfiring for me and ThoughtWorks. I realised, and it was a very, very difficult decision actually to leave ThoughtWorks. I learned a lot, and a lot of amazing people there. I spent a lot of time during that time helping women in tech get jobs. And I was also told that I would learn a lot working in a product company and also working with Damien. Both of those things have been very, very true. So it was also difficult but an easy decision to move to Work 180. So after I joined, we spent the first 3 weeks shipping MVP jobs board in 3 weeks. And we split the work with me doing the front end and Damien doing the back end and the infrastructure. And that was to get it out in time for an investor demo, which was super, super important. Went really well. And after that, we established weekly one-on-ones. We wanted to during one of those early ones, I wanted to make sure that, again, I didn't get shoehorned into just doing front-end stuff. And so we were more deliberate about splitting work. I took a little bit longer on doing things end-to-end, but I learnt a lot. And since then, have shipped some new features end-to-end and can ship new features end-to-end.
So parallel to that, we've got a bit of a journey through cycling, and I say this because there's about half a dozen cycling friends in the room. Cycling and tech, it's a thing. So I actually met Larene through cycling. Somebody, a mutual friend, brought her out for a bike ride one day, and again, this is something I've been doing for a long, long time, and Larene was just starting out, was really quite new. And so we, as well as sort of rode together occasionally. And then this conversation happened, where Larene said, hey, look, I've seen Andrew race, and I want to beat him. How does that happen? And so on top of working together, I basically became a cycling coach as well. So now, we're working together all day in kind of startup shipping crazy stuff, but we're also getting up at 5 in the morning and going up for bike rides, in small groups and large groups and doing these horrible training sessions. and then racing. And Larene's sort of gone from that to winning races in a couple of months. So I think we're doing something right along there. And we've managed to stay friends, which is incredible. So a lot of the techniques that we've sort of found professionally work in this context as well. So that's kind of, we think there's some good evidence that some of these things work, and we've built this relationship. So there's a bunch of lessons out of this that we're here today to share.
So just to go through a few of them. So we want to talk about how we've established this, we think, really solid mentoring relationship and what that kind of looks like for us, and how mentoring has benefited both of us. And also how we do feedback and how we've managed to achieve that really, well, we think really open communication. And we want to go through some of the tools that we use that we hope might help you out as well. READMEs and one-on-ones, and also some of our opinions, because Damian has opinions, and thoughts on men mentoring women and the importance of sponsorship. So
words are hard. Writing this talk was actually really confronting because we sat down, we started writing some stuff, and all of a sudden we're using phrases like the senior person, which nearly broke me. So yeah, the sort of... Yeah. No, I'm juvenile. So yeah, we're sort of, throughout this, we'll probably tend to mix up senior and junior and mentor and mentee, and we try not to use boss and direct report too much, or GRU and minion. We also...
I'm GRU.
From time to time, we stumble on these and giggle, again, because I'm juvenile. So yeah, it's been a difficult process writing this talk. So, throughout this process, there's a bunch of things I've learned about being a better mentor. The first of is it should be challenging. If you're mentoring somebody, you really need to challenge them. It's too easy to agree to mentor somebody and just kind of say, yep, that's a great job. Or just do the thing that they're doing anyway. You really, to be effective, you should push people out of their comfort zone, because, when people get out of their comfort zone is where they grow the most. So it's, if you are mentoring somebody, don't go for the easy wins. You want to push people, make them a little bit uncomfortable. You also, I find, need to give them enough rope. Too often I've seen team leads or mentors go, look, I'll just do this bit, it's hard. You can just do the easy bit. So you do need to give people enough rope. You need to let people make some mistakes and learn some things for themselves. Even if sometimes your spidey sense says, I think that's going to go wrong for you. Time boxing is really good to say, hey, look, here's this thing. I suspect you're going to run into some issues. Let's give it half a day. So yeah, you can really, you don't want to spoon feed people. You need to let them learn that stuff, but you can help them by time boxing a little bit. The other thing I found is really helpful is look longer range than today. So, I've said, what skills would you want to have in your next job? Which is not to say I want you to leave, but what is it that you want to do next? And let's find opportunities for that in there now, And that helps sort of with retention as well. Like if it is somebody that is reporting to you and you're just teaching them the stuff that you absolutely need them to do today, that's why people leave jobs, because they're bored and they're not engaged, they're not challenged. Whereas if as part of mentoring, you can say, what skills would you actually want to have in 2 or 3 years' time, and work on that now and find those opportunities, then you get some really good benefits. I found pairing works really well, particularly on new patterns, new techniques, things that are hard. Not just, people do mentoring and they just go, oh, look, I'll just do a code review and things like that. But actually pairing and working really closely to give people a glimpse at the process is a really effective thing. And showing a bit of vulnerability. We've got somebody else in our team who's super junior. This is basically his first tech job. And I'll pair with him on stuff. Not that I expect him to necessarily be able to pick up and run with it, but to show him that none of us actually know what we're doing most of the time. Be a bit vulnerable, expose the fact that you don't know everything. There's a lot of really junior developers in particular have this vision that senior people, the code just flows from their fingertips and it's like some scene from the movie. So actually sitting down and going, no, I have no idea what this thing needs to look like, and derp a whole lot and Google a whole lot and go, oh, that's what it is, and just watch that process. Because I think it's a really important lesson for juniors to learn that none of us has all the answers. We just get faster at finding them out.
So another really part of good mentoring, really important part of good mentoring is setting expectations in a mentor relationship, especially around goals and around timeframes. So around goals, it's important to really establish firm goals from the beginning. So something that I've seen a lot of is if someone will go up to someone they admire and go, can you be my mentor? And because the person usually is hoping to give back, they'll say, yeah, sure, let's do it. But what they really should be asking is, well, what do you want to get out of this? Or what do you want to achieve? What does the mentee want to get out of it? And also, does it align with what you yourself as a mentor can provide, or what the mentor can provide? There's this thing about this kind of, nervous offer for help without much context, where you go and say, sure, I'll mentor you, or let me help you. And these relationships end up, most of the time, not really being that useful. And it tends to leave both people feeling guilty that it kind of failed because neither of them got really what they wanted out of it. And the second thing is around timeframes. So I've had a bunch of mentors who were I've had a few mentors who were kind of assigned to me, and we went through that whole thing. We didn't really have any firm goals, and then I had to work out how to end it. And so it's also something really, really important to establish at the start. Deciding when the mentoring should end. I think a lot of people do forget about doing that. And that helps avoid the awkward conversations as well if it's not working for somebody. So chatting about that up front is super, super important. So how to do that? Regular check-ins. Is this still working for you? And set dates to decide whether or not you want to walk away, or whether you want to keep going if it's still helpful as a relationship. And it might save awkwardness and maybe hurt feelings as well.
All right, so the two-way street bit, it's fairly obvious what a mentee is going to get out of some sort of mentoring relationship. And we talk about that, and it's sort of fairly well understood, and it's a lot around is you're going to learn faster because you can have very deliberate and directed growth. You've got somebody saying, hey, go learn this now, go learn this. Look at this technique, or I can help you out with that. And also, like I said, you can help people not going down rabbit holes or looking out for traps that from your experience that, hey, look, this thing that you think is an awesome idea, it's going to bite you because of this. You can save people a lot of time. But I found there's a lot of value for me as a mentor as well. And that's sort of not talked about as much. So some obvious ones is it feels nice to pay it forward. I've spent a bunch of time in the tech industry, and it's really nice to help grow other people, because I remember, the person in my first serious tech job who said, hey, that thing you're doing is really awesome because of this, this, and this, and I had a whole bunch of new things to learn. So it's nice to be able to pay it forward. But if you're leading a team, you're also going to make your team more effective, which is going to hopefully reduce your workload, and you can get more stuff done. The other thing is, I don't know if people have experienced this, but you learn a lot from teaching. You might have, I know how to do this thing, I can do it with my eyes closed, but somebody asks you to explain it, all of a sudden you've got to really, really think about it. And I first realized this many, many years ago. I was teaching guitar and I'm playing something and a student said, what did you just do? I'm like, I don't know. What did I just do? And, by being forced to actually look at that, in order to explain it, I actually made some realizations about what I was doing, so I was able to progress my own journey as well, because you just sort of, by being forced to analyze this thing that you sort of internalized. A couple of other things is I found that younger people or people earlier in their career have an enthusiasm and energy that we tend to lose as we get a little bit old and jaded. So I remember earlier in my career something had come out and I would jump on it and grab it and build something with it and throw it away and go, no, that was terrible, and start again and build it again. And as I've progressed and gotten a little bit older and tireder and more responsibilities and family, I have less energy for that kind of thing. And you forget how to do it. So by mentoring people, you find that some of that enthusiasm can be a little bit infectious and sort of, gotten a little bit of passion back. The other thing that I found is, when I was spending time grabbing every new thing and trying it out, I got very, very quick at that experimentation process. As I've gotten older, I don't know if other people have seen this, you might look at some new framework or new technique or new library and go, yeah, I've seen it before. It's just like X. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to spot those patterns and go, yep, I can see where that thing will be useful because it's just like this thing that we did 10 years ago, but better. And that is a useful thing because then you've got it in the back of your head. When a problem comes up, you go, I know the thing that is that shaped. What you lose, though, is the ability to spin it up and execute on it really, really quickly. So I can look at a new framework, a new library and go, yep, I can see exactly how that's going to work. And I can put that in context very quickly. But when it comes to, okay then, spin up a new React app with Webpack and all the things, I go, nah, because I've lost that muscle memory. So by pairing up, I've sort of been able to get back some of that, let's just try. And I found that really, really useful for me. So yeah, it can be a massive benefit if you, again, can show a little bit of vulnerability and open yourself up to being wrong a whole bunch of the time. So sometimes my spidey sense about, hey, that's going to break because it was just like code generation back in 2002. Sometimes that's right. Other times it's wrong. So I found that if you open yourself up to a bit of humility, I don't know everything, then you can get a lot of benefit. And I've certainly found a lot of my passion for learning new things and writing new code has increased, and I've learned a lot as well.
So, question. How many of your team members have given you and each other regular feedback? Okay, about half the room. Pretty cool. So when I joined ThoughtWorks, feedback is something that's really, really built and ingrained in their culture. And it was an extremely powerful tool. And it was something that I wanted to make sure that I took to Work 180. So this was how one of our early one-on-ones went. Sorry, I'm really loud. Try. So I put together an agenda, because that's what I do. And the first thing on the agenda was feedback for Larene. And the second thing on the agenda was feedback for Damian. And since I sent him the agenda up until the time of the one-on-one, he spent all that time wondering what he'd done wrong. And turns out I only actually had good feedback for him that time.
But I've lived in a lot of very toxic environments where that meant I was going to get beaten up.
And so, yeah, we talked about it and unpacked that together, why he was so afraid of that phrase. And yeah, it turned out that that phrase only meant, or was only followed by bad things up until that point. So feedback is, for those who might not know, is praise and criticism of someone's work or ways of working or their actions or behaviours. And feedback is hard. But the only way that you do get better at it is to do it more. So that's what feedback is. Why do we do feedback? It's to strengthen confidence and improve effectiveness. I kind of call feedback for me as like a physiotherapy session for my career. I don't know. It hurts sometimes, but it makes you better faster. And yeah, just like with all other things, a fast feedback loop is the most effective way for people to learn and grow. But something that you do need to do is to build a safe and open feedback culture. And it starts with a couple of prerequisites. Having a culture of everyone having a growth mindset, everyone being interested in investing in continuous learning and continuous improvement, and also, as Andrew mentioned before, and I'm going to trigger some PTSD, the prime directive, but assuming positive intent and assuming everyone's doing the best job that they can with what they know and the context that they're in at the time. Another thing that it starts with, and really actually important but a seemingly quite trivial part, is having everyone agree on that phrase to remove the anxiety of giving difficult feedback or having difficult conversations. So that I have feedback for you is that phrase that we use. And what it does is it gets the convo started, it prepares everyone in that conversation for what's to come. And it removes that barrier of it being awkward. And in doing that, it will kind of feel forced and awkward when you first start to try and embed all these things into your company to try and facilitate that feedback. But it does get easier and does get more natural as time goes on. So I wanted to share, a colleague and I did a brown bag on feedback with the whole company, and wanted to share a couple of the points in there just as a bit of a refresher, or if you haven't seen it before. So, giving feedback. You need to genuinely care. I'm going to run through these really quickly because we don't have much time. You also need to assume positive intent, assume the person's doing their best. You should ask permission. Always ask first, can I give you some feedback? Do it early and do it often. Don't leave feedback for something someone did for ages afterwards. And be specific, don't be vague. Don't say, good job on that. Tell them what they did a good job on so they know what they can keep doing. Comment on behaviours in impact, not on the person or personal things. And deliver praise with as much consideration as delivering criticism. This is something really, really important. Receiving feedback. So ask for it. Say thank you, because usually it's really, really difficult for someone to work up the courage to give feedback. And the fact that they've done it is because they care about you and they want to help you improve. Listen and don't defend, but do give context if you think they've gotten the situation wrong. Clarify, ask for specific examples, and you don't need to act on every single piece of feedback. You know the whole story, the other person doesn't, they're just telling their side of the story and what they observed. And defer if needed. So in giving feedback, ask permission. Don't feel like you need to receive feedback immediately.
And that's why that phrase is good. If somebody says, hey, can I give you some feedback, and you've had a really crappy afternoon, you can say, not now, can we do it tomorrow?
Yep. And this should happen all the time. It shouldn't just be limited to one-on-ones, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So who loves to receive critical feedback but hates to give it? Yeah, me too. It's really hard. So I wanted to share something with you, a matrix from a book called Radical Candor by Kim Scott. And what we want to try and do is always be operating in the top right quadrant, where you care personally and you want to challenge them directly as well. Be honest. And a lot of managers and colleagues do kind of end up in the top left because it's easier to just be nice. But but this is pretty catastrophic because the outcome is that people leave or you have to fire them. And this is called ruinous empathy. So being nice because of several reasons. It's hard to give feedback without feeling mean. Give critical feedback, maybe you're scared of feeling mean, or maybe you're scared of hurting the other person's feelings, or maybe you don't want them to cry, things like that. This is a fantastic book. Kim Scott, she's been a manager at Google, Apple, and many other companies, and has a huge amount of actionable advice, so I really recommend everyone does read it.
All right. Has anyone heard of manager readmes? A few? Yeah, so this is sort of, we started doing the rounds earlier this year. Basically, it's a document that, it's sort of a guide of how I work that a manager can write and put out there. And they're really useful for new team members. If you say, look, this is how I work, this is what I value, this is what I'm doing here, this is my expectations, can be a really good introduction for particularly new team members. And it's the beginning of a conversation. You can sit down and talk to people and actually talk through it, and you know, you can help sort of get to know each other a little bit, and it triggers some other conversation from that. Writing one is a really good sort of exercise in self-reflection, like why I am here, what is it that I want, and actually be able to put your goals and values out there. The beginning of the year when I joined 180, I kind of went, well, I want this to be a different type of organisation, different culture to a lot of the things that I've done before. So I sat down and kind of wrote down, well, this is how, you know, how I want to be. So it's a really, really useful tool in that self-reflection. There's a little bit of backlash for them at the moment because, like any tool, it can be abused. It can be just here are the rules for working with me, and if you don't like it, it's your fault. It shouldn't be that. You know, a lot of people have put them up on GitHub or make them collaborative documents so that if, you know, you are not living up to how you say you are in your README, that somebody can actually come and edit that and go, nope, that's not what you do at all. Again, not a silver bullet, but useful to look into as a tool, particularly as you're building a new team.
So one-on-ones. These are meetings that shouldn't just happen between you and your mentor or you and your manager. It's a really great way, and I think Tom mentioned it in his talk and mentioned it earlier as well, coffees, Virginia having coffees with all the new starters. It's a great way to learn from and bond with everyone you work with and get to know what's going on as well. A lot of people waste the potential of having really, really productive and really great one-on-ones. So usually you kind of organise them, put them in the calendar, go out for coffee, you ask how you going, have a bit of a yarn, talk about some status updates maybe, some light feedback, maybe some trivial complaints, a little bit of venting.
And then we talk about bike riding.
We do put bikes on the agenda at the bottom if we have time. And if your one-on-ones feel extremely comfortable, that's when you know you're not taking full advantage of them. That sounds really bad. I'll iterate on that a little bit. So effective one-on-ones, schedule them, and as much as possible, do not skip them. Please do postpone and reschedule if you can't attend them. They're super important. The mentee needs to set the agenda, or the direct report, or I don't know, minion needs to set the agenda. And drive the meeting. And in those meetings, you want to talk about things like career growth, life goals, ambitions, things like that. Also talking about feedback. They're a great time to talk about feedback, especially difficult feedback that you want to really get into. And occasionally awkward stuff like feelings and conflicts. I had things. Feelings, conflicts, and problems that you might be having. But at the same time, continually work towards making it a safe place, making it safer and safer to share uncomfortable things if they need to. So, and talk about both of you. One-on-ones should be two-way as well. And if need be, set up action items and check-ins. Have someone to hold you accountable, things you want to achieve. And a little bit of a tip, kick off your first one-on-one with a README for both people. So I also have a README, which is accessible on my GitHub if you want to have a read of it. It talks a lot about food. And usually these READMEs are quite introspective and futurespective and hopefully a bit personal. And that really sets the tone for getting the most out of your one-on-ones from the get-go and into the future.
All right, this is slightly controversial opinion time. We'll do it 5 minutes, so we'll try to get moving pretty quickly. Some things I've seen, and I'm going to get a little bit negative here because men mentoring women is a sort of fairly controversial topic. I have seen a lot of this. Men who put it out there that they want to mentor women with no real reason other than to make themselves, other than to feel better about themselves. You see this a lot on Twitter. You see guys going, I'll mentor any women in tech without any real kind of context of who they are or what their experiences are or what they can give. It happens. I've also seen it happen where men believe that the women need the help. And they're sort of a bit of a knight in shining armour, that how could these women possibly be good enough? I'll give them some help. And often it's because they're not a threat, that they feel that it's not a threat. So yes, avoid that. Don't treat a sort of male to female mentoring opportunity differently to anything else. So I do see that and try to call it out privately when I can because it does get a bit awkward.
And I've also seen conversations around that women should only mentor women related to the points that Damian was making just now. And especially in tech, there is statistically not enough female mentors to go around to mentor other women. And so before and after the hashtag #MeToo, has everyone heard of hashtag #MeToo? The MeToo movement, there's a bit of a fear around men mentoring women, and a lot of them put it into too hard basket. So women also miss out on the opportunity for being mentored by a good match who is more experienced. So don't do that, but also don't fall into the can I mentor you trap. Be deliberate and work out if it's a good relationship. And another thing is that you want to have diversity in your mentors as well. So I think Sheryl Sandberg talked about in Lean In, having a panel of mentors in her book, and it's something that I've been fortunate enough to experience as well, and having a diverse set of people to reach out to when I need to ask different questions about different things. So diversity wins again. Do we have time for this?
No.
Okay.
So something that gets lumped in with mentoring was actually a separate thing, is sponsorship, and I'm going to be super quick on it. It basically looks like this. Sponsorship is about introducing people you mentor into your network and endorsing them. It means putting your ego aside. Somebody can ask, come to me for something. If I can push somebody else forward, that's not my ego that gets stroked, but it does introduce other people. Inside a larger company, it helps people sort of under you raise their profile. It can really provide a lot of new opportunities and shortcut their career. Particularly with women sort of typically have to work a whole bunch extra to gain credibility, particularly in a bigger company. So as a male mentor, you can use that, use your standing to sort of cut through a lot of that crap. And we found this to be really beneficial. Skip that last one.
Sure.
That's what I've done. I've put Shaw's slide over the other one. These slides, where's Shaw? Shaw has a new service which is about if you text CTO mentoring or run up here and scan that code, you can get emailed a copy of our slides. But how many have we got? 0 minutes, 1 minute?
50 seconds.
50 seconds. We've had some wins. I think in one of our first sessions, I said, nope, if I say nothing, you're doing a good job.
I said that's not good enough.
It's not good enough. So, through our sort of feedback and one-on-ones, we've sort of been able to move past that and actually, produce some really actionable stuff. Sorry.
Sorry, talking about Jamie giving...
Yeah, I was going to say that. Because we built this culture, we had a new person come into our team who typically would be fairly anxious, and she felt really comfortable sitting down with me and say, actually, I have some feedback for you, because we were doing something that she wasn't quite comfortable with, my approach to it. And I can be a little bit scary, but because we'd sort of built that and set that up and talked about this is how we do it, she was able to say, hey, I have some feedback. When you did this, it pushed me down this direction that I really didn't want to go. And we were able to have that, really early conversation and shortcut, a whole bunch of pain. And the last kind of little win, we've got 15 seconds left.
And it's been really I'm gonna flounder now, but it's been really, really awesome to see that this has proliferated through the company and everyone feels safe and have set up one-on-ones, have started to or are going to do readmes, and also are comfortable to give each other feedback within the company. So having that culture from the get-go from such a small company as ours is really amazing.
Thank you.